Stephen A. Smith and boxing fans around the world say that Errol Spence is done and he needs to retire. Well, we're going to talk about that in this video. I'm going to give y'all my thoughts on it. But before we do that, make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already sub to the channel. So the fight that the whole world is still talking about, everybody shocked the beatdown that Errol Spence took to Terence Crawford. And now, like I said in the intro, you got everybody running around saying that Errol Spence, he needs to hang up the gloves and he needs to retire. You even got Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith, a lot of people will tell you that he don't know shit about boxing. He's also saying that Errol Spence is done and he needs to retire. Now, my thoughts on the fight is, hey, Errol Spence, he didn't look good in the fight. I've always say that in boxing, you can't have an off night in boxing because you can't turn around the next night and run it back. Sometimes you never get your lick back in boxing. Also, boxing is a physical sport, but it's more mental. Sometimes when you take a beat down like that, your mental is never the same. I seen Roy Jones get knocked out by Antonio Tarver, and Roy Jones never came back the same fighter. He had the skill set still, but he just couldn't pull the trigger. We don't know how Errol Spence is going to come back because the fight just happened. Errol Spence, he could learn from this and he could come back better, because we've also seen fighters lose, take a bad L, and then come back better than ever, make adjustments. And sometimes we've seen fighters just have off nights. Sometimes it's because they may be weight drained, sometimes because they just not feeling it that night. But you never take nothing away from the opponent that made them look bad, because we all know Terence Crawford, he went in there and he did his thing. Honestly, I've never seen Terence Crawford look as good as he did on Saturday night. I've never seen him get in the ring and look that good. I've seen Bud get in the ring and beat people. I've seen him look good, but not that good, especially against that level of opponent. You always got to give the opponent that made the fighter look bad. And Terence Crawford, he made Errol Spence look bad. You got to give him his props. I don't know why Errol Spence looked like he did. He could have just had a very off night, but I'm not going to make no excuses for him. He didn't make no excuses. He took his L like a man with his chin up and his chest out like he's supposed to. He said he want to come back at 154 pounds. Will the fight be any different at 154? It could be, and maybe it won't be. Now, we all know that Errol Spence, he been talking about moving up in weight since 2018. Matter of fact, back in 2018, he told me that he was going to stay at 147 about another year, and then he was moving up. Now we in 2023. And then right after that, all of the Bud Crawford talk started to come along, and it looked like that fight could possibly be made. And then finally, we here now. You know what I'm saying? The fight is finally made. The fight is over with. But it didn't turn out like nobody thought it was going to turn out. I guarantee you it's very, very few people that know about boxing that thought that Bud was going to dominate this fight like he did. Now, it was things that we saw from Errol Spence in this fight. We obviously seen Errol Spence take much harder blows than he did with Terence Crawford. I mean, you can go back to the Kell Brook fight. Kell Brook is cracking. Kell Brook hit EJ with much harder blows and it didn't affect him. Danny Garcia hit Errol Spence with much harder blows and it didn't affect him. So we've seen Errol Spence take blows and keep coming. But this Saturday night, he couldn't even take a jab. He was wobbling from a jab. His balance was off. We never seen him like that. So now, with the beating that he just took, like I said, you got a lot of people, saying that he needs to retire. He needs to hang it up. And this is nothing new in boxing. You feel me? It's like now in boxing, when these fans, they see a fighter get beat, it don't even matter. Sometimes it don't even matter how they get beat. They say that they've been exposed. They was never who we thought they was. They need to retire. It's like now you take one loss and now all of a sudden you got to retire. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't really have real, true boxing fans no more. Well, I'm not going to say that we don't have them, but it seems like it's less and less true boxing fans now. Most of these fans don't know shit about boxing. As soon as they see a fighter take a L, they need to retire. And that's the main reason a lot of these fighters, they're afraid to fight the best because they got to go back the next day if they take a L, and they got to see all these dudes that ain't never threw a punch at the air, you know what I'm saying, on the internet, acting like they the toughest thing in the world, telling them that they need to retire and making memes and talking about how they got their ass whooped. And that's actually the highlight of their whole life, seeing somebody else get beat in the ring. You know what I'm saying? They ain't never beat nobody up in real life. They ain't never threw a punch in real life, but the whole highlight of their whole miserable ass life is to be able to get on the internet and make memes and talk about somebody else getting beat that just made millions and millions and millions of dollars. I don't understand it. I will never understand. But as far as Errol Spence needing to retire, more on a serious note, let's talk about it. Well, the way I feel about the situation is just because a man takes one loss, I don't think that you need to retire because you take one loss. Now, if you old, if you like 42 years old and you get in the ring and you finally take a L and you don't look the same, then you probably need to retire because you already old. But in this instance, do Errol Spence need to retire? The way that I feel about the situation is, if he's not right, because I've seen videos come out saying that, you know, if you look at Errol Spence and you study him, you study his speech, you study his balance, you study just a lot of things about him, that he's not right. You know what I'm saying? Like the car accident has long-term effects on him, and that you could just see that he's not the same fighter. His balance is not the same, and you know, things that they was breaking down. Now, if that's the case, yeah, you might need to go see a specialist, go get a CAT scan, go get really checked out. And if things don't come back right, then you need to retire. Because in that case, well, you know, your health is not where it should be, and you don't need to do more damage to yourself than what's already done. But once he does that, right, if he goes get with a doctor and the doctor tell him that he's okay, like he's done before in the past, he's got with a doctor. He's had CAT scans and all of that. And they cleared him. They said he was fine. So if they tell him that he's fine, no, he don't need to retire just because he took one loss. What the hell is wrong with some of y'all weirdos? You know, and this is not just Errol Spence that y'all say this about. Every time you see a fighter take a L, he need to retire. I seen Teofimo Lopez take a L. Y'all was saying he need to retire. After Adrian Brunner took his first L to Marcos Maidana, all y'all was on the internet talking about he need to retire. When Deontay Wilder took his L to Tyson Fury, y'all was talking about he need to retire. When Ryan Garcia just took his L to Gervonta Davis, it was clowns talking about he needs to retire and go back to Instagram modeling and TikTok and shit like that. You know what I'm talking about? Every time y'all see somebody take a loss, the next day is they need to retire. And I think it's quite silly for some of y'all to just always be saying this shit. Everybody can't beat Floyd Mayweather. Fighters have off nights. It's just when a fighter have an off night, it's not covered up by teammates like you can do in football and basketball. You can't just come back the next night like you can do in the basketball game, in the football game, and redeem yourself. Sometimes, like I said, you never get a chance to redeem yourself and get your lick back. But that don't mean you need to retire because you took an L. You know what I'm talking about? Anybody can have an off night. It just depends. Y'all don't know what these fighters go through. These fighters go through horrible weight cuts, you know, and it's a whole lot of factors where a fighter might get in the ring and they might feel off on that night. You know what I'm saying? Some fighters are just so much above the competition level. Sometimes they can afford to have an off night and still win the fight. We didn't see it in this case. We seen Terence Crawford come in there and just put himself on a whole nother level than Errol Spence was on that night. Now, if they rematch, I don't know what the outcome is going to be. But he has to show me that he can beat Bud. But at the end of the day, he needs to come back. If the doctors say that he's fine, yeah, he needs to come back, get his lick back, and we'll see how that fight goes. Shout out to Errol Spence for being a true warrior, and shout out to Terence Crawford for showing out and, rising to a whole different level on the biggest occasion of his whole entire career. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Smash the like button, drop a comment in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel if y'all not already subbed to the channel. Y'all already know how I do. There you go, talking that boxing again, and I'm gone.